Good evening all, welcome to the PinkUn Matchday vlog. My name is Southwell, just heading down to Carrow Road. Of course, Norwich City hosts Watford in the Premier League tonight at Carrow Road. It is 20th against 19th. Watford, of course, coming into this game without a win, having only scored 6 goals. No player scoring more than twice. So plenty of records there to be broken for them tonight. Of course, under the stewardship of Quique Sanchez-Flores, who was the coach last time they came to Carrow Road in 2016. The night Norwich City's relegation was confirmed. As you can see, very wet, very miserable, very dark, as is the case when you get to these winter months and you have a night game. But Norwich will be hoping for a special atmosphere tonight, because they're going to need that crowd behind them, especially if they are to win this game tonight. They're going to have to give everything. Of course, they only still have one fit centre back. Lack quality at Brighton. Hopefully I'll come into the light again in a minute, and lucky you'll be able to see my face. But there you go. But yeah, an interesting game tonight. There feels a lot of nerves in the air, I'll be honest. At least I'm nice and dry. So yeah, follow me around today. Of course we'll be in the press box for this game, as we always are, and fingers crossed Norwich City can get a positive result, because if they don't tonight, they're going to find themselves, like, if they don't win tonight, or if they lose tonight rather, they're going to find themselves rooted to the foot of the Premier League table after 12 games, and their prospects will suddenly look very, very bleak going into the international break. So let's cross our fingers. Of course, 8 PM kickoff here. It's about 5:45, and I'm just making my way down to the ground now, so I'll catch up with you down there. Pleased to report the rain has stopped. It's not quite monsoon levels that we experienced in Brighton last week, but still wet, still quite miserable. Of course, in the city centre tonight as well, they've got the fireworks to celebrate the 5th of November, which we must never forget. Probably worth letting you in at this point. I'm actually quite afraid of fireworks, so I know where I'd rather be tonight. Let's hope so. There's some fireworks on the pitch. Welcome to Carrow Road. In position, you may be able to hear a very loud public address system. We've just had the fireworks go off over the south stand, not that I saw any. But I certainly heard them. There was almost like an 1880s London smog that descended over Carrow Road. I'm in position just watching the Norwich City players warm up. The teams are out. Norwich City unchanged from the sides lost to Brighton last week. Perhaps quite surprisingly, Alex Tettey keeps his place at centre back. Marco Stiepermann still in there as well. Mario Vrancic back on the bench. Mo Lightner not in the 18. Watford have set up in a sort of a 3, well, it depends how you look at it, either a 5-3-2 or a 5-4-1 of sorts, I suppose. But it looks like Pereira and Gerard Deulofeu are going to be the 2 players leading their lines. Pereira conventionally a midfielder, Deulofeu conventionally a winger. So interesting to see how they line this up. We know Quique Sanchez-Flores is quite defensively minded in his approach, so just watching the Watford players emerge from the tunnel, and I can see a certain Troy Deeney. He is only fit enough to be on the bench this evening. Half time at Carrow Road, Norwich City 1-0 down to Watford. Their goal coming from Gerard Deulofeu after 76 seconds it was. Buendia immaturely just tried again to do a drag back sort of 5-10 yards inside his own half. Deulofeu snatches the ball from him, mazy run, and then rolls it beyond Tim Krul. From there, there's been plenty of huffing and puffing from Norwich, but
failing really to make inroads in Watford's side. Watford haven't looked great defensively, to be fair. Norwich's best chance probably coming with nice work from Steedman, who rolled it into Hernandez. He raced through one-on-one, but Ben Foster denied it. Watford have looked lively on the attack, mostly through Gerard Delafeu in truth. But when Norwich actually have a go at them, they don't look great. And this has been a very frenetic game between two teams who looking unable to defend. So how it's only 1-0, who knows? But Norwich have had territorial advantage. They definitely came into the game a lot more before half time, failed to get that goal. And now, as Tony to the left of me said, all the cliches come out about needing a massive second half.
Today's Man of the Match, sponsored by Tower Freight Services and chosen by today's match sponsor Overville is Norwich's number 1
Welcome to Carrow Road in the aftermath of Norwich City's 2-0 defeat to Watford. Watford, of course, came into this game without a win in the Premier League. Safe to say that they've achieved their first 3 points, leapfrogging Norwich in the process, with the Canaries falling to the bottom of the Premier League table. And now I know it's only November, and I know that Norwich City have had a lot of injuries, but quite simply tonight that was not good enough. That was not the level of performance that Norwich City can put in if they want to stay in this division. They were way short of quality, way short of any attacking penetration, and not good enough defensively. I want to start though by talking, as I always seem to do in these videos post-game, about the midfield, because how disjointed was that in the first half? And I was unsure what they were really attempting to do, because for a side that wants to use the ball and wants to have possession of the ball, a key part of that is using the ball well through the thirds. And in order to do that, and to do it effectively, as we saw last season, you have to have players who connect them. Norwich went with Tom Tribalt and Kenny McLean in midfield. It was almost a 4-2-3-1 as opposed to a 4-1-4-1. And yet both of them were playing almost light years apart. They were playing in different, if you cut the pitch down the middle, they were almost playing in different parts of that. And that meant every time Norwich City lost the ball, Watford could spring through the centre, as Gerard Delafeu did after Buendia decided that he wanted to try and execute a drag back 10 yards inside his own half. And in truth, from there, Norwich City huffed and they puffed, sure, but they never really looked like scoring again. It's 2 goals in their last 7, and both of those were late consolations. So yeah, that midfield setup again wasn't right. It's something that they haven't got right all season for me, and it's something that if they don't solve, then they aren't going to get results. And for a side that want to play football, and as I said, they want to play possession football, they want to play possession-based football, for a team to do that with such a lack of tempo, with such a lack of intensity, I mean, it looked laboured out there tonight. And just to go back on the midfield, there were so many times in the first half where I was almost speaking to Dave Freezer and saying, look, if you look at the central area of the pitch, there were 5 Watford operators in there, and not one Norwich player was occupying the space to allow them to play through the lines. And that's where the source of frustration was. It was almost as if the only outlet they had available to them was a ball out wide to Onel Hernandez for him to try and create something, to beat 2 men and try and find an end product at the end. And it was just so poor from an attacking sense, from a midfield sense, and from a defensive sense tonight. And that puts Norwich in a very compromising position, where now it does look like it's going to be a long march back to the Championship. That's the reality. I thought the only real quality on the pitch tonight came from Gerard Delafeu. You only have to look at his first goal after 76 seconds, and then some fine work as well to find Andre Gray. Brilliant finish as well, improvised little back heel volley into the bottom corner of the net. But yeah, for Norwich City, this saw plenty of problems, I think, in their game, and perhaps showed that this group of players, as they currently stand, as they currently operate, aren't good enough to play at this level. Just to speak about Watford, they were compact, used their defensive shape well, and also looked lively on the counter-attack. Delafeu was their outlet. He provided the pace, as I said earlier on, mentioned he provided the quality as well, and his goal after 76 minutes really set them up. They then had something to almost feed off, and had Norwich have
I don't know, kept that game at 0-0 and had Buendia have knocked the ball back to Tim Krul, it would have gone long. They lose possession, but they could have reset. And I think that's the frustration at the moment. It's a little bit of naivety. And it's really concerning to sort of think about, because this is a side that looks like they've had all the confidence sucked out of them. But if it's confidence and it's just a switch that needs flicking, then goodness me, that must be some switch, because the way they're playing at the moment is so short of the level they need to be to stay in this division. And this is another 2-0 win tonight, and probably a fairly comfortable win. And you can talk about possession figures as well, but Watford controlled the ball out of possession. Norwich only took the ball into areas Watford had allowed them to have it in, which was essentially into wide areas for them to get crosses into the box. That's not Norwich's game. And for me, there's so many problems in there. If you want to play, and I'll keep stressing, if you want to play football that involves you passing through the thirds, then you have to have a tempo, a pace and a purpose to your passing. And at the moment, Norwich have no purpose, have no purpose to their possession play at all. It's laboured, it's pedestrian, it's allowing teams to manipulate them into areas of the pitch they want to go, and that's really alarming for where Norwich City sit in the Premier League. And now we go into an international break where they'll sit bottom of the Premier League. We've got 2 weeks for this crowd now to stew on that before a very, very difficult trip to Everton, where, again, if they don't pick up points, and they need to pick up points, then it's going to cut them even further adrift. This was a Watford side who only scored 6 goals prior to coming here tonight. This was a Watford side who hadn't won a game prior to coming here tonight. And if Norwich City, and this is no disrespect to Watford, who I felt executed a game plan excellently, but if Norwich City can't beat that level of opponent, they will not stay in this division. And they are sinking without trace at the moment, you have to say. And how do they address it? Well, for me, there needs to be some variation, because it feels like physically they're not competing. I mean, all it took was Andre Gray to come in. First thing he does, leans into Godfrey, and Godfrey's like, whoa, what's happening here? And is in a state of shock, and that's not good enough. It's just not good enough. And it's difficult for Norwich at the moment, because we can talk about investment, and obviously the accounts came out, and I think when things are going bad, the people can talk about mitigating factors as well. But quite simply, that 11 on the pitch have to put in a performance of the standard if Norwich are to stay in this division. Now, Alex Tettey at centre-back tonight, Norwich switched to a 3 and then back to a 4 and then back to a 3 in the second half, which almost summed up the chaotic approach to it. I didn't feel they were ever really in control. It felt quite reactive. It was a reactive performance. The midfield for me is the area at the moment. Talk about one fit centre-half all you like. If they can't ensure that midfield operates in a cohesive manner, then they're not going to be able to implement their philosophy that they are going to stick to. And if they are going to stick to that, then they need someone who wants to pick up the ball from deep, who has the spatial awareness and the intelligence to actually get himself in a position to distribute the ball. But also equally in that, he needs operators who are going to support him up the pitch. And again, it's just connecting the thirds. When you've got 2 central midfield players who are playing so far apart, that makes it incredibly difficult to impact the game with the ball. And that's the frustration tonight. And ultimately, Norwich City have lost this game again, and they've lost another game 2-0, where it has been of frustration, because I think after the football we all witnessed last year, this Norwich side play, to see them operate the way they are at the moment and not really be competitive in games is slightly disappointing. I always say there's a way to lose games, and at the moment Norwich are comfortably second best in the majority of them. Plenty of huff, plenty of puff, but ultimately no penetration through Watford's defensive shape, which was fairly comfortable all evening. And to be fair to them, they solidified that central area really well. But yeah, 2 weeks now to stew on that. The mood music coming out of this place at the end, there was a smattering of boos from the punters, and I think that sums up where Norwich are at the moment. Really frustrating, really dejected. And it's going to be a tough 2 weeks before a long trip to Everton, and we'll see whether they can find a solution there. But yeah, the Championship, that title winning day at Villa Park in May, is feeling further away by the minute, isn't it? So there we go. And that's it for this Matchday vlog. Norwich City beaten by Watford 2-0 at Carrow Road, and as I make my way out of an empty stadium, it's difficult to reflect on that one with anything other than dejection, I think.
it could be a difficult few weeks for Norwich City, that's for sure. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the PinkUn YouTube channel, leave a like and comment as well, and we'll see you for Everton in a couple of weeks.